Hey everybody, I want to talk about a product and platform that I absolutely love and our latest sponsor, Interseller, the prospecting and outreach platform of choice for recruiters and sellers. Whether you're doubling down on business development or recruiting talent, Interseller does all the heavy lifting of finding contact data, automating the email and follow-up process, and syncs all that rich data into 20 plus CRM and ATS platforms. Reach out now and get going on a 2-week free trial and let them know you heard about it from Adam on the podcast today. Check out the link on the website. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, where I bring you the best and the brightest in the world of business, marketing, and entrepreneurship to help you harness your own inner tenacity and drive your career forward. My guest today on the podcast is Tina Karras, recording artist and owner of Tina's Vodka. Tina has worked in the music industry and live event space while pursuing her career in music. That eventually led her into the wonderful world of spirits, where she was able to personally taste tons of different brands. That must have been fun, which crafted her palate she used to create her non-GMO, no additive, ethically sourced vodka brand. And guess the name, Tina's Vodka, right? Good name. Yeah. And we've got a lot of ground to cover with her in Tina's journey, so let's get right to it. Tina, welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
howdy.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to be speaking to you in dry Los Angeles today.
Yes. Finally, the rain is behind us.
We were chatting before the show, and I love to take my listeners through the career journey. And I want to start back to your first small business you were part of, which you were a dishwasher. I think that's where everyone starts, at your family's restaurant. What was that? What was, hey, listen, I was a dishwasher. I really, truly feel, and I'm sorry, I'm pontificating here, that there's something about working in the hospitality, restaurant, service industry that really grounds you, because you just have a sense of what it takes and kind of how the sausage is made. And it keeps you humble. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Oh, sure. Well, I come from, my family's Greek. My mom is Greek American. My dad is from Greece, from Sparta. And so, such a cliche, but it's true. We owned a restaurant. So I grew up in a restaurant.
Was it a Greek restaurant?
It actually was not. It was kind of like
it was a
diner.
Sushi place. Well, diner is the second obvious question.
Yeah, totally. So it was like lunch specials, spaghetti, lasagna. We did have feta. We always had feta and Kalamata olives. Because Greek food is very, I love to cook it, but it's very complex. And so, my first job was washing dishes at 8 years old. I was basically born in a restaurant. And, that's where we saw my dad, and my mom worked there too. And all of us worked there growing up. And I agree with you. I feel like everyone should work in a restaurant on some capacity in their life sometime, because it changes you as a person. Like you're saying, you're different. You're humbled in a different way, and you realize what physical work it is. Mm-hmm. And, especially through the pandemic, I realize how restaurants were just a huge part of our lives. Like just the connection. Yeah, to go out to eat. It's such an important part of our lives that being without it for so long, I didn't realize how much it really did contribute to our lives. What important thing. It's not just food. It's family.
Experience.
It's where you celebrate and connect with people and have deep conversations. And it's different than just getting a to-go box at home.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's primal too. Do you remember, you're working there at age of 8, which is certainly some child labor violations, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But it's a family restaurant, so I guess there's a get out of jail free card on that one. But do you remember those
she
early?
Likes it. She likes playing with the squeegee thing. It's fun for her.
The water's not that hot. Don't worry when you're cleaning it. It's not that hot. It's warm. She'll build calluses. But do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember like that first kind of aha moment at that formative age where you saw what your dad and mom were doing, that hard work, that kind of those takeaways of like, wow, I see what they're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. Because we were there all the time and witnessed it. There's highs and lows. And, we actually moved the restaurant when I was a teenager to another part of town. The restaurant was booming. And then they did construction on the street and you couldn't take a left turn anymore. And it completely cut the business in half.
Wow.
So watching those things, and how it affects, how just to re-strategize and do your whole business in a different way. So watching those highs and lows, it also taught me too, your happiness really doesn't come from your money at all. I mean, of course, it's better to have more money, not to worry about paying for things, but you're still the same person. So those ups and downs, I feel like in a subconscious way, like you're saying, it was impressed on me. I didn't even realize until I was older that how there's something bigger than just making money. It's, who you are, how you carry yourself, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's really creates your happiness, not the external.
I love that. How did your parents react when the business wasn't going well?
Oh, they're not well.
And how'd that affect you?
Yeah, they were stressed out a lot. Yeah, and it was very uncomfortable. It's like, we can't pay for this, you can't do this, you can't do that. So that was tough. And I think I did, inadvertently pick up a scarcity mindset that took a long time to shed, to go back. It's your relationship with abundance, your relationship with
Absolutely.
things. And you learn things your whole life that you don't even know you're learning them. And it was kind of the way too. This is way before the internets.
Oh my God. Imagine that day when kids used to play, when we used to go outside, we used to remember phone numbers and wait by the phone. I'm dating myself now. But
No.
when the musical side of you is so important, such a major piece of your story.
Yeah.
Was your mom or dad musical? Anyone in the family? Where'd you pick it up from?
Yeah, they were all musical. My dad actually, in Greece, he was a trumpet player and he played in
cool.
bands and those big band things. And yeah, I was a not guitarist, violinist when I was 10 years old. I played violin for like 10 years and then picked up the classical guitar right as I went to college. I went to UNC Chapel Hill.
Super
Tar
cool.
Heels. Yes, it's a great school. I'm so blessed. That school has really not only given me a great education, but even the alumni, and they helped me move out here. They've connected me with people, and it's been a real blessing to have gone there. And yeah, so I got my music degree there, just kind of jumped into it and learned classical guitar there and piano.
Yeah, we'll get to the music side in a second here, but what was that decision to go out to LA? Like, is it like the cliche dream? I'm going to go follow my dreams. What's that movie with Lady Gaga and all that? I'm going to follow my dreams.
Oh, yeah. So the LA thing kind of happened in a very interesting way. When I was a fifth-year senior, actually, I went to college 4.5 years.
Me
so
too.
I graduated.
I rounded to 5. I did, and I call it the bonus year. But we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, that last semester was my best semester. And it's continued to influence my life. I'm so thankful for that. 4 years is too fast. And also, probably you Gen X. You don't have to tell me how old you are, but I'm Gen X. And back then, college was affordable.
I went to a SUNY school. My parents didn't flinch. I mean, I had to stay an extra semester to finish it was like 2 classes, and I was interning and working. I was in Buffalo. Yeah. And they were like, how much more money are you going to make or save by being here? You'll probably eat us out of house and home. We'll probably spend that money, on food.
Yeah, totally. That's funny. But yes, so that semester I was an intern in radio. My plan was to stay in Chapel Hill, live there, work in Raleigh in radio, and then just, get the music going, take on students. And then Hurricane Fran came, which, I'm in Hurricane Alley there. And it, even though we're inland, it devastated Chapel Hill. We were out of power for like 3 weeks, trees, everything. And my apartment was kind of ruined. So I ended up moving back to Charlotte after graduation instead. So all of that was nixed. But while I was at my radio internship through school, one of the guys who actually went to Chapel Hill as well, he was like, do not stay here. He's like, go somewhere else, at least for a year.
Town.
But he's like, you got to leave home. Because the only reason why he was back in North Carolina is because he was helping taking care of his mom. But he's like, he went to Chicago. He's like, just go somewhere. You're young, you're single, you don't have kids. Just go try it and see how it is. And you can always come back. So when I went back to Charlotte, I was trying to just figure out what to do, because it's not like people are hiring 23-year-olds to be songwriters. No. That would be great if they were. But so I worked, I went back to restaurants, which has always kind of been my go-to, just waitress, bartend. And then my mom actually heard about a Suzuki guitar trainer class. So it was a Suzuki method of classical guitar, and they were doing it in Los Angeles. So that's how I ended up in LA, coming out there for the class. And then there was
everyone has this story.
Yes. So I went out there just for a week. And during that week, it just happened to be a reception for the Carolina interns. They do a Hollywood internships for music, movie studios and all that. So they happened to be having the reception while I'm there.
Funny how that worked out.
I know, so crazy. And so when I went to the reception just by myself, I didn't know anyone. I had no idea how large LA was too. Like the cab was like $50.
It's sprawling.
Like,
It's sprawling.
Totally.
And traffic sucks anytime of day, anytime of night. It's kind of like here, but worse.
Yeah. Well, there used to be those windows of where it'd be good. Where 20 minutes anywhere in LA. The windows are gone. Now it's an hour anywhere.
I think that's 4 to 4:30. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So then while I was there at the reception, I actually ran into people I went to school with. And so they're like, hey, let's take you around LA and let's, come move out here. So they were really encouraging to move out. They were like, don't think about it. If you think too long, you stay in Charlotte, you're never going to come out. Just come right back out and just go for it. Like they did. They were working, film production. And so I did. And I stayed with them. I stayed with a few friends. My professor in college, she actually had a son out here. And she's like, I send people sleep on his sofa all the time. And so I actually had a lot of support from Carolina.
That's great.
Coming out here. Yeah. And then once I got here, everything was kind of terrible. I was 1 foot out of LA trying to figure out if I'm going to stay because it was tough.
It's a rough town. They say New York will, chew you up and spit you out, but LA is similar. How did you manage did you have some grandiose expectation of LA, bright lights, I'm going to make it and everything versus reality? Like, what was that like? Expectation versus reality in LA?
Well, I felt like when I came to LA and, I had my friends take me all around, it felt very much like my hometown, Charlotte, which I know it's on a massive scale, but it's just kind of unorganized, spread out all over the place. It just felt like endless potential. This is back in the 90s, though, so it's definitely changed a lot. But it felt like, it's where you could actually live a good life and be a broke artist. Like rent was like $400. Like it was, yes. So the cost of living, it just felt like, okay, I can do this. This is where I can come out here and figure myself out. I didn't really have the bright lights, big city. I did want a record deal. And, I worked in music for a while. And now I realize looking back, thank God, that didn't work out. I'm still independent on my own. But for me, it was more like, I guess, just it seemed open-ended. This is a place you could come out here. You can feel the energy. Possibilities, yes. And the weather is great.
Most of them, yeah. Except for the hurricanes, earthquakes, and floods, but that's and the fires, and the riots, right? But so how did you? I mean, you were working as a bartender in the event space. How did you balance your dream of being a singer songwriter and paying the bills? How did you manage that, or is that kind of what you do in LA? The actress, actor, bartender, model / the slash. Yeah, exactly. So when I got here, I started temping, and that was a thing back then. I'm sure it still is. Paid $10 an hour to temp, assistant work in music, which was a great opportunity. I look at it now like it was kind of like a paid internship. Yes. And then I actually didn't pay rent for the first 6 months I was here because I was just sofa surfing for a while. And then when I finally did get my own place, I realized, I was just working all week, making no money really. And I wasn't writing. I wasn't getting anything done. I'm like, what am I doing? So I started bartending then because I can make more money in less time. And I have my days free to do what I need to do. So that's how I started going back into bartending again and waitressing. And it is excellent money for sure. But it's still a lot of hard work, physical labor. After a while, you psychologically can't do it. Yeah. You did it as well, I guess. We've all had our stints in our early days. So before we get into your current venture, I want to talk music for a little bit.
Sure.
And before we I want to talk about your album, Classical Dreams, a bit.
Yes.
Who are I love to talk music. I don't know if you could see behind me. I have my three favorites here. I have Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and my guilty pleasure, Dave Matthews here.
Oh, nice.
Who are your musical influences?
Quick side note on Dave Matthews. When I was at Chapel Hill, my freshman year, they were playing Big Frat Court right before they got huge. I remember watching them.
Virginia, right over there.
Yeah, exactly. So they played the college circuit. So I remember watching them, the violin player. I'm like, these guys are really good. And then the next year, they're everywhere.
Yeah, I got for anybody who's looking at home, because I'm working on my new office here. I got my Led Zeppelin when they got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Cool. It's Roger Waters from his first tour at the Garden, and a little inspiration there. So who inspires you, Tina?
Honestly, I know it might sound crazy, but I'm a huge classical fan, and Beethoven's like my all-time. I mean, he's just incredible, and
no one's going to argue with that one.
So
no
good.
one's going to say, "Nah, he's awful. That guy sucks." Who the hell is that? Fuck him. He sucks.
I did hear some guy in music school. He was saying, the Pathétique Sonata. He was calling it the Pathetic Sonata. I'm like, hey, just because. Exactly. I'm like, dude, it's still genius. Even though a lot of people play it, that doesn't take away from It is. But yeah, I'm very heavily classically influenced. I think some of it comes from my family too. My dad listened to he listened to classical music, Greek music, and then like big band stuff. That's what I grew up listening. And then my mom, on the other hand, she was listening to disco a lot. So I had a lot of those.
Disco.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So I started, classical is a big thing for me. And then as far as like the musicians, like modern, I love Zeppelin too.
Mm.
I was a big fan of Indigo Girls, Sheryl Crow. Who else? U2 was a huge influence for me for a while.
U2, why is U2 so polarizing? I mean, I feel U2 is so love or hate. Side note, I don't know if you saw this. They came out with it, I think it was last week, and this show's not going to air for another probably 4 weeks after we talk today. U2 just came out with 4 albums, which they rethought, remastered, recomposed the composition, like 4 albums worth of their classics.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
And they reimagined it. And I thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, these guys have been playing for almost 40 plus years.
Yeah.
They're playing the same. Hear these songs. So you think about it from a creative standpoint, like, hey guys, we have these insane catalog. Like, let's go back to the studio and how would we do this song again now? And that was the thesis of this. And it turned into 4 albums. It's supposed to only be 1. So it's interesting to kind of always be evolving. And that kind of leads me to the next part in your career. Well, let me take a step back there. I didn't finish on Classical Dreams. Let's talk about the album a little bit.
Yeah.
What was when you go to put an album together? What was kind of your approach, your mindset? Where did you want it to? What did you envision and how to finish?
Well, so that's an excellent question because I started writing these songs. Like the oldest song actually is Potential Energy, and I wrote that when I was 19. So I'm going to age myself, but that was a long time ago. And, I was just doing like crappy demos with like a cassette tape. And then, the digital age came and I started doing things on my MacBook. And then about, 2015, I started working with a producer. Because at this point, because before, I worked with music labels, like the 2-inch tape itself was $30,000. Just the tape.
For the tape.
Yeah. Not for the studio time, nothing else. So cost-wise, it was almost impossible for me to do that. So, but with the digital world, Pro Tools changed everything. So, so I hired who I thought was a professional to do my first album. And, I was working full time. So I would just go record it on my off time, days off, whatever. So I really was just working and recording my album. And after a year and a half, I think I was too close to it. I couldn't hear it properly. I should have shelved it because it was not good quality. I wasn't where I needed to be. So
what wasn't good quality about it?
I think everything. Well, I feel like there was a lot of, and it's also scientific. When you get used to hearing something, when you listen to it, it sounds right. And then you take a break and you can go back and hear it objectively. Yes. So I think just even like the effects on my voice, he and I were friends, but we weren't a match creatively. And I learned a lot through that experience.
So many lessons in that last, 60 seconds. What you're saying is to be able, whatever working, and that applies, whatever you're working on, because you're so close to it and you have blinders on, you need to take a step back, pause, get the right feedback. Not too much feedback, right? Not too many cooks in the kitchen, but the right type of feedback. People that aren't scared to tell you the radical candor.
Yes, exactly. Like, give it to me straight. But then again, whose opinion are you going to take? Because you always have to come back to yourself. So I pulled it from online and everything. And then I went back and found a new producer who I thought was going to be great. Was not great, was a terrible fit as well. But I was, the same thing. I learned a lot, learned what not to do. And so when I got the finished product, which was another 8 songs, I just listened to it. I'm like, I do not want to release this record. I'm not doing that. So I took some time off. But through that record, I met my current producer, Bill Mims, who is amazing. He's awesome. He was actually the engineer at Sunset Sound when we were recording my drums for that album. So he and I kind of hit it off. I reached out to him like, hey, I want to re-record my album. And he, thankfully, in Los Angeles, he only lives 15 minutes away from me. He has a home.
Come on over.
Yeah, exactly. He has a home studio. So we did this drums, we did the pianos, and we actually hired a string quartet. I wrote the music for that, which was an awesome.
Nice.
I missed, writing music like that. So I wrote the whole string quartet, and he set it all up at Sunset Sound. So we, because there's a difference between the MIDI violins and a real violin, like it's night and day. So
right, the synth versus the real thing.
Totally. So I worked with Billy, and that still took 2 years of my off time. I'm working full time.
Yeah, you weren't working on it, all week and all day. You were doing it when you could and when you could afford the time. His time isn't free.
Exactly. So over that time, I finally got the record I wanted. And then we're going to mastering. And then the world shuts down for the pandemic.
Yep. You're ready to go, ready to hit the stage. Yep.
Yes. And then at the same time, I had just come up with Tina's Vodka. So the plan was release the vodka and the music at the same time. Because as you know, people don't buy music the way they used to. It's streaming, and if you buy my record on iTunes, I'll make like 75 cents a song. But if you stream it, I make a fraction of a penny every time you stream it. So it's the money just isn't there. And actually, a lot of my industry friends even told me it's like, as a musician, you really have to have something else to sell.
Touring and merch is where that's why even the big acts. Hey everybody, first I'd like to thank you all for spending time with me and my guest on the podcast. This show is my canvas to showcase amazing people from the world of recruiting, entrepreneurship, and leadership, and unpack their career journeys for everyone to learn from. But this show is also a business generator for me, as well as creating thought leadership and endless amazing content. And I've taken what I've learned in the past 3 years and over 200 recorded and 100 live shows and distilled it down into a digital playbook that I call the Pause Course. Now you could learn how I build, manage, and produce the podcast and use it to drive real business development and relationships. Today, I'm sharing all of my secrets behind the podcast, and you can get it all at thepausecourse.com. This course is for anyone, whether you're starting out or an advanced podcaster using it for B2B and B2C. It's filled with all of my insights, learnings, tips, tricks, and templates. So get it now at thepausecourse.com and learn all my secrets. Thanks. When was that first inkling where you're like, is vodka your preferred spirit? Like, let's get into the origin story of Tina's Vodka.
Yeah. So
that's what we're here for. That's what the folks want to.
The best vodka out there. Would not put my name on it if it was not the best. And you already know you like it. So as a buyer in the liquor industry, so we help set up programs at restaurants, bars, venues.
On premise.
On premise, yes. And so I'm constantly pitched so many brands. Taste this, please buy this. Especially the company I work for now has such buying power. After so many tastings, and there's a real craftsmanship to spirits and wine that most people aren't aware of. But people take great pride in their work and creating something special. So I realized through all those tastings that a lot of the organic and non-GMO vodkas were terrible. They were not. It's like kick me in the face with the alcohol. Or if
like a potato on fire.
Yes, exactly. And then some of the other brands that are really good are super expensive, domestic, mostly made from GMO, pesticide-laden crops. And I just realized, there is a niche here. Someone can create an organic, non-GMO, good tasting, smooth spirit that's not $50 a bottle. So that's how it kind of evolved, just out of life experience. And then I connected with a former colleague, and they were actually making private labels for people. So I collaborated with the distiller. I'm not a distiller. I'm not scientific like that.
But where was that? Like was there like I'm going all in? Like, oh shit, I'm making a freaking vodka brand. Like,
yeah. Basically, I'm like, hey, let me just go for it. And
that's what it takes, people. Yeah. Same thing with this show. I just gave it a shot, right? Like, I'm like, all right, let me just try a podcast. And now 4 years, 250 plus episodes. Like, all right, looking back.
Awesome.
And that's a good lesson. Like, if you feel the itch, scratch it.
Yeah.
But you knew from being in the industry that this is going to be an uphill battle. It's going to cost you a lot. Like, how'd you even wrap your head around that fact? Like, shit, you're a struggling musician trying to get your album out. Like, oh, wow, let's go invest another X amount of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a vodka brand and getting shelf space and fighting for, bar, top shelf. Like, you knew this going into it, and you still did it.
Oh, yeah. The big boys, ridiculous amounts of money behind them, a sales team. And that's the great thing about my relationships I created over the past 12 years working as a buyer. I knew so many people at the distributor. I knew other restaurateurs. I knew concessionaires.
Inside track.
Yeah. So I had friends all over the place. I had my own network that, I knew as a buyer, the juice has to be good. You can do whatever you want, but what's in that bottle counts. So I knew when I get the vodka the way it should be, that it's going to be a no-brainer. But yes, it has been an uphill battle. It was much harder. say this. It was much harder than I thought it would be. I did not expect to do it during a pandemic either.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I'll talk to you offline about this. My friend started a rum company, rum brand during right at the beginning of the pandemic. We'll table that one for a moment there. But it's interesting too, because you need people to try it. As you said before, people weren't going out to the restaurants, they weren't going to the bars, and you're going to get people to do a sampling in a liquor store of some random vodka. Yeah. So let's talk about the vodka for a moment there. Now I'm going to give a little my quick review on it. So I had two sampling sessions. The first one I had with my father-in-law. My father-in-law is born in ex-Soviet Russia. He's very familiar with vodka, so he is an expert per se. Interestingly enough, our family events, we don't drink vodka anymore. We drink tequila, which is part of my transition to tequila phase. But I said, Pops, we're doing a shot here. I told him I'm having Tina on the show. And his reaction was, this is smooth, very smooth. And I have stopped drinking vodka for the last couple of years. I've migrated over to the brown spirits and then tequila when I want to go clear. So vodka is not my native spirit. And it was really smooth. I didn't make a face. I didn't gag on it. It was really good. And we sipped it. We didn't shoot it. We sipped it because I wanted to try it. And then I tried it again a couple of days ago with our friend Yelena, who is a vodka drinker, who only drinks vodka. And she really enjoyed it. So thumbs up across the board. So
thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The step to take the, it's a proprietary step to take the, what's the word we want to use? That shitbox flavor from most vodka out of it using coconuts. And this is proprietary. I don't know how much you can share. But talk about how it makes it different. How is Tina's vodka different? This is the editorial piece, everybody.
Yes. So
the editorial.
Why my vodka is different is because we start with God's green earth corn from the planet, not from GMO. And this is another thing people don't realize about GMOs, that it's the pesticides are what makes them even worse, because the GMO, the DNA was modified until the crop could live with the pesticide. So that's how bad it is for you. So,
right. It's like, how bad could we make it to kill the bugs and still keep let's find that intersection between killing bugs and not killing the plant.
Yes, exactly.
That's awful when you think about it like that.
Yeah. And you see people in the hazmat suit spraying that, and then you're going to eat that? No, exactly. And so people, alcohol was originally created for medicinal purposes. I know there's all these, I'm not going to tell you it's a healthy, I'm not going to say that, but I am saying there are benefits to alcohol that have been dismissed. Partly so because of the way it's created now.
Making ugly people good looking for many years. No.
That's amazing. But so we start with a really good organic corn. That's the base. That's the foundation, the essence of it. And then we filter it properly. We take care. We watch it to make sure it's distilled the proper amount of times. It's not going to be the same time every time, because the corn is different each time. And so it depends on what it needs. And then we do filter it. And what makes my vodka different is it is just organic spirit and water. What you have in a lot of these vodkas is there's additives to cut the terrible taste. Because if you stay under a certain threshold, you do not have to disclose it on the label. So there's vodkas cut with high fructose corn syrup, sugar, glycerin. As long as you stay under threshold, they do not have to disclose it. So a lot of times when you're getting that bite or the afterburn or the stomach the next day, the hangover, it could be from the additives, not from the liquor itself. But it's also to cover up a bad liquor too. You don't need to add additives if the vodka is good from the start.
And that's what people say about, I've been learning about tequila too. I'm not going to name any of the brands here, but there's a lot of popular brands that people like because they're not as coy as what the real McCoy tastes like.
Yeah.
And people like it because it's sweeter. It's more of a human friendly flavor profile. And that's why they sell them. X brand tastes good, but that's not really what it should taste like.
No, I feel like I read every label. I stay away from pesticides. I care about what I put in my body. And I feel like alcohol, I want to know if there is food coloring, caramel, especially the brown spirits. You got to watch out for those. And same thing, the agave shortage. I feel like tequila should be just tequila. And if you want to sweeten it afterwards, that's up to you. But to add sugar and you have no idea that sugar's been added to it, I don't like that. And I want to have integrity in my brand. So when you drink it, you taste it and you feel it the next day. I have plenty of people who tell me that they don't get hangovers when they drink my vodka. And when I drink it, I don't feel the same way.
You're immune to it at this point. So let's. So what was one of those tough early lessons learned the hard way from launching a brand?
Oh, you have to grow your customer base authentically, because you need people who are buying it because they like it. They like the way it tastes. They like the story behind it. They like everything about it, because a lot of people throw a lot of money at it. Okay, if you buy this case of vodka, I'm going to come in and I'm going to spend all this money
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to support you this way and we'll do all these things. And, once that brand stops paying for that, then usually those buyers stop buying. So it's not a good business model. It's got to resonate on another level. And that's part of the reason why, I don't know if you're aware, I'm an impact partner with Kiss the Ground. Have you seen this documentary film?
No, I've not.
Oh, you have to see it. It's Kiss the Ground. It's on Netflix. It's about how regenerative agriculture will basically solve all the problems, like you're saying, with the fires, the runoff, all that.
I'm glad you got to it. That was on my list here of things to go over. So let's get into it.
The soil health is the key to everything, because it's the microbiome. It's what, the bugs, all of them have a role to play in our ecosystem. But when you come in and just spray pesticides and kill everything, you're destroying that. So
you're destroying years of future. You're destroying the past. You're destroying the future of legacy and soil. Like think about like the grapevines, like in the vineyards. That soil. It's a soil.
The soil is the key to everything. That's why it's called Kiss the Ground, and it will leave you in an optimistic place about the planet, because the planet is, especially when we were growing up, you just ate food. You didn't even think about organic this, non-GMO that.
No.
And the earth knows what to do. And we just have to get out of the way. Like during the pandemic, those first 3 weeks, where once we were locked up, the earth fixed so many things on our behalf.
Oh. Right, like we saw like certain things in the ozone layer getting better, and the air quality, and all that. But I want to go back to something else that was kind of tough. You fought off $1 billion corporation. I don't know if you could share the name of them, but that's fine. But I'll let my audience kind of figure that one out. It's not too hard. But what was that battle like? And did it almost put you down?
Yes. So this company, Tina is my given name, and I have a legal right to use it. So this other company was squatting on Tina in the tequila category on the trademark website.
They didn't even have a product out.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have a product. If they had it out at some point, they've not had it out. If you don't use it within 3 years, you use it or lose it, basically. So the first round of attorneys I had were like, you can't have the name. And I'm like, no way. So I hired a new attorney. So we...
If you're not telling me what I want to hear, I'll hire a new attorney.
Exactly.
I like the way you operate, Tina.
I've gone through 6 attorneys. And that's one thing I did learn, even the amount of money an attorney is paid, it does not matter. You still have to go with your instinct and your gut. Take their advice, and then you have to filter it through, your own knowing and your own instinct. So the next attorney, we came up with Tina's Planet Vodka, because I'm from planet Earth and I give back to planet Earth.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. So that got approved through the trademark website. And this is December 2020, the first holiday season of the pandemic lockdowns. And right before Christmas, I got these cease and desist letters telling me basically, you can't have it, get rid of your website, get rid of everything. And, it was scary, because I'm just a single woman, businesswoman. I'm at home alone in Los Angeles. My whole family's on the other side of the country, because I'm not going to fly. And, this is when everybody's very scared of COVID. I'm not going to kill them with me going there for Christmas. So thankfully, another thing that happened very authentically, organically, was my friend who owns a water company, an alkaline water company. He actually went through something similar, and he happened to tell me the story at lunch a few months earlier. So I called him, like, how did you deal with this? And so he's like, you're going to call my attorney and he's going to take care of this for you. So he connected me with just a phenomenal attorney who got rid of it in one letter. Thank God. But it still took 3 months out of my life, another $5,000 that I was not expecting. And it was very touch and go there. I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? Because they could, since I am just a single person, just stretch it out.
They could just outspend you.
Yes,
they could just outspend
exactly.
you. They could just, that's their technique. That's what they do here. So aside from the legal battle, what has been your biggest uphill challenge with the brand?
I would say, I guess I could go back to the pandemic. It just delayed everything. When we started it, we were trying to meet festival season of 2020. And, it usually takes 2 weeks for the TTB to approve your label. It took 5 months. We couldn't get the corn. We couldn't get glass bottles. We couldn't get
Supply
anything.
chain was just shit across the board.
Awful. Yeah. And so I lost a year and a half. And so I started this company on credit cards. Like, this credit card checks were like 0% interest for 18 months. I'm like, sweet, I'll do this. But, that 18 months came much quicker because of the pandemic. So suddenly
they're coming asking for their interest. Yeah.
Yes. And then, I was furloughed with just like everybody else. California was hit very hard in the hospitality industry. So my income was just basically gone. And then it was about half of what I normally make, plus that debt, and just waiting every day, 2 weeks, months, So I would say that those delays were, made me really, have to get myself together and just persevere through it. And after the trademark thing and that, I'm like, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Let's go. If I can survive that and continue,
I love it.
I'm good to go. Like, nothing, throw it at me. And I will tell you this, those challenges made me stronger, made me more focused. That I will say that trademark dispute.
Listen, we survive 100% of our bad days. We survive those bad days, and that's what it's all about. So let's talk on the happy side here.
Yes.
What's the future? What's on the horizon? Let's talk about the good stuff for Tina and Tina's Vodka.
Yes. So I finally got into the market in 2021, and then Total Wine approved me for 22 stores, which is huge all across California. The female ownership, I think, is helping a lot. And also I have a great brand, a great story. All of it's real. And so through that, I got through Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits, the number one distributor in the country. And so I had dear friends there who helped me a lot. And
love it.
That is actually such a huge benefit because everybody has a Southern account.
So,
I go to any restaurant. Of course, they have a Southern account. Just throw it on your order. You're already placing. And then I have extra good news right now. So I'm from North Carolina. Again, my university, everyone in North Carolina has been so supportive. I just got approved to be in the state of North Carolina for sale.
Awesome.
Yes, because they're a control state, so they operate completely differently. It's a whole nother ballgame. So it's all the ABC stores, and I emailed them, and they called me, and they're like, let's talk, let's get your brand in here. So we're doing the paperwork right now. So by the time this podcast is airing, I should be available for sale in my home state. So
I love it.
And the university, I've been talking to them. I'm hoping to get more and more people ordering it and asking for it in North Carolina. So
I love it.
And then,
I love the story.
Yes. And then also because my Greek heritage, a friend of mine connected me with these guys who own Greekazon.com. It's Amazon for Greek products like wine, cheese, oil. So they
all the good stuff.
Yes. So we actually did a podcast with them, and I'm for sale through Greekazon through 44. So you can order me. This is bottle I sent to you was from Greekazon. So they shipped to 44 states. And all of that happened very,
easy peasy.
Yeah, like, hey, we like this, we like you. Let's work together, and it's been awesome.
The beauty of your story is the persistence, the hard work, the perseverance, pushing through, fighting for what you believe in, and this is what success looks like. And I only wish you the best. It's a great vodka. I want everyone to go out there and try it. What's going on with the music side?
Yeah, so that's another thing with the pandemic, because a lot of my music, of course, as a writer, I write everything, depressing songs, sad songs. I specifically chose these songs that are a little more optimistic. I talk about, creating your life. And actually, I had 11 songs on originally. The 12th song, the magical ones, I wrote during the pandemic because I was so sick of, the news telling us we need to be scared.
The uplifting. Yep.
Yeah, we need to be scared and afraid of everything. Yeah, I'm like, no, we have power within us, and that really was a backlash to that. Just embrace the power, create your life. We have magical things. We have power, and our imagination. It's even scientific now. They can prove how your feelings can create things in your field.
Manifestation.
But then during the pandemic, with this, how it's just been such a weird time, it didn't feel appropriate to push that out there yet. So the plan was always to release the vodka and the record together. So like on my Instagram, I have some videos of the vodka with my songs in the background. I'm on all the digital platforms.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm intertwining them together and just letting people. I personally do not like a hard sell. I don't want to be in your face. I want you to come to it because you enjoy it. Here it is, take it or leave it. I'm not going to beg anyone to like my music or my vodka. I know I'm proud of what I've written. I'm proud of my vodka, and
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You seem you seem happy. You seem happy, and I know it's been a struggle to create and follow your dreams, and I certainly applaud you for that. So, Tina, let's bring it home here. Tina, what's the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received that you take action on daily?
This, and I've said this before, but it rings true every time, that you're not creating your business, you're not creating music, you're creating yourself, and that's who every day you're becoming another version of yourself, and to keep up leveling. The challenges come, it's another opportunity. It's not like, oh, why is this happening to me? It's like, okay, this is great. This is an opportunity for me to be more of myself. Let me figure out who I am and, shed those fears, shed those insecurities or, feeling small. It's like you can stand up and become more of yourself every day. And the company, the vodka, the music are vehicles to that. Because like I said, growing up, having money, not having money, having money, not having money. It's this. Everything is what you're thinking
Amen.
and feeling. Yeah.
I love it. And I so align with that. And I so believe in that too. And thank you so much for sharing that. And last but not least, Tina, you look back on your life, you look back at those hard times, you look back at, when your parents lost the restaurant and it was going under and they took away that left turn and you're like, shit. Yeah. And you had to see them persevere and pull through. And in your own career, those really tough times, scraping by, following your dreams and pushing through and clawing your way up with tenacity. And in the same breath, you look back at and where you are right now in our conversation with gratitude. You're humble. You're proud of your accomplishments. What keeps you focused? What is your beacon? Tina Karras, what is your North Star in life?
Well, thank you. First of all, that's a great question. My North Star, I would say, I'm not really sure. I think every day I just try to figure it out. Wake up every day and, be thankful for another day of being alive and healthy and another opportunity. I mean, I have bad days too, but for the most part, what a great country to live in that I can just create a business and just go for it and figure it out as I go.
Making music and making vodka, the American dream, people.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like remembering those times, looking back and seeing how far you've come, because it's very easy to forget about that and think, oh, I need to be here. And that's been a struggle. And I'm sure you can relate too, because when you think back when you first started your podcast, you're a completely different person now. Like everything is different. And stopping every once in a while and taking stock and, being like, wow, I did that. I am proud of myself that I persevered and created the album I always wanted to create. And being rejected by, music publishers and labels. I haven't submitted this one for anything because honestly, I want to stay independent. I want to do it on my terms because the business is very ugly and they take all your money and I've already created it, but I guess maybe mostly building that relationship with yourself and be like, this is who I am and I'm sharing it with you, take it or leave it. And that's up to you what you do with it. So.
I love it. Tina, thank you so much for spending time with me and my audience. It's been a fantastic conversation. Hope you feel the same. It's been great. I feel like I know you now. I feel like we're buddies. This has been awesome. I want everyone to check out tinasvodka.com. It is fantastic. It gets the POS seal of approval. I'm going to start endorsing products here. Tina, where else could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
So in California, I'm in Total Wine. I just got an Albertsons and Pavilions. And nationally, Greekazon.com. You can order it there and they'll ship it to you, free shipping. And I will soon be in the state of North Carolina.
Fantastic. And we'll link it all up in there. Tina, thank you so much for joining me. Hang with me one moment here. And everyone listening at home, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Sharing means caring. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. Leave a review. Rating goes a long way. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Remember, take care of each other. Look out for one another and catch us next week for another great episode. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.